Good morning and welcome to episode 24 of The Daily Light. Today I want to talk to you about coming off of that high when things are just great and then we realize, wait a second, we have to get back to work. We have to come back to reality. It's Monday, so a lot of us are off that high from the weekend. And to talk about this, I want to talk about the Transfiguration of Christ, which was yesterday's Mass reading, and also about Peter. We already know that Peter was one of Jesus' closest apostles. Wherever Jesus went, Peter was by his side. And the interesting thing is that Peter was actually one of the most flawed characters in the Bible. And that's what makes him so relatable, because it reminds me, whenever I read about Peter, it reminds me of myself in those moments where I lack faith, those moments when I doubt and say the wrong thing. And we see all of those characteristics in Peter, but Jesus keeps on choosing him. So when Jesus goes up to the mountain to pray, he takes Peter, James, and John with him. And let's read about that in the Gospel of Luke. And while he was praying, the aspect of his face was changed, and his clothing became dazzling white. Two men were talking with Jesus, Moses and Elijah. They had just appeared in heavenly glory and were telling him about his departure that had to take place in Jerusalem. Peter and his companions had fallen asleep, but they awoke suddenly and saw Jesus' glory and the two men standing with him. As Moses and Elijah were about to leave, Peter said to him, "Master, how good it is for us to be here, for we can make 3 tents, one for you, one for Moses, and one for Elijah." For Peter didn't know what to say. And no sooner had he spoken than a cloud appeared and covered them, and the disciples were afraid as they entered the cloud. Then these words came from the cloud, "This is my son, my chosen one. Listen to him." And after the voice had spoken, Jesus was there alone. The disciples kept this to themselves at the time, telling no one of anything that they had seen. That's really interesting. And if you actually read the gospel a little before the transfiguration, you see the moment in which Jesus tells his apostles, like, I have to go into Jerusalem. I'm going to be put to death. And Jesus says, no, we can't let this happen to you. And Jesus rebukes him, saying, "Get behind me, Satan. The words that are coming out of your mouth are not God's words, but Satan's words." So Peter was like taken aback a little, and all of a sudden we're on this mountain, and Peter sees the glory of God, Moses and Elijah just around Jesus, and Peter wants to stay there, of course, because if he stays there, he probably avoids the work that Jesus just told him that he had to do. And imagine just the glory of being in that moment. How much better can life get than being up in the mountain in the full glory of God? Like, who wants to come down from that? So Peter's first instinct is, let's pitch a tent. Let's just stay here. Why do we have to go back down? Why does anything have to change? But no, everything has to change, because those moments like that of pure glory, of pure happiness in our lives are just moments that in which God gives us the strength. And I want to say the Spanish word fortaleza, to get through everything else that we have to go through in life. So Jesus knows that he's going into Jerusalem to be put to death. And God gives him that moment of strength and validation of his mission. And as Peter just wants to stay there, but Jesus has to remind him, like, no, we're coming down from this mountain, because the real work, the work that's going to change us, the work that's going to change all of humanity, takes place down there, not up here. So it's the same thing with us. It's Monday. We're off the high from the weekend. And that's okay, because the most fruitful parts of our lives come from the work that we're doing today, the work that we'll do tomorrow, that day in and day out hustle. That's what defines us. That's what makes us grow. That's what makes us people of purpose, people that live purposeful lives. So as tempting as it is to just want to stay where everything is great, that's not what we're meant for. So like Peter, another lesson for Peter to learn is come down from that mountain and do it in joy and do it in peace, because you know that when you come down, when you go into your work week and dealing with your family, those are the things that you're meant to do. Those are where you're going to create the biggest impact in your lives and the lives of everyone who you touch today. So come down that mountain and get to work. Have a blessed day.